The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Signature Theater, presenting the DC premiere of the untitled, unauthorized Hunter S. Thompson musical. Follow the godfather of gonzo journalism as he barrels through American history in this critically acclaimed new rock musical now through July 13th. Buy tickets now at sigtheater.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out June entertainment includes Ryan Adams on June 28th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The popular band Switchfoot rocks the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on July 5th. I spoke to bass player Tim Foreman about the band's journey to record hits like Dare You to Move and Meant to Live. Hey, Tim Foreman, hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason.
We are talking to Tim Foreman, the bass player of Switchfoot. It's going to rock Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on Saturday, July 5th. So get your tickets now. So that's July 5th. That'll be the day after everyone's big 4th of July celebration. So
That's right.
Why should folks spend their 4th of July, their extended weekend with you and head on up to the casino, make a whole weekend of it, baby?
That's right, man. It's going to be a great 4th of July weekend. And it's fun for my brother and I because we had childhood roots in Virginia Beach, and so that whole area is kind of nostalgic for us. And grew up rooting for the Orioles and all that. So getting back to our roots for July 4th weekend, it'll be fun.
Wait, I had no idea about that. So you were born in what, Lake Arrowhead, California in 78. But so what was the Virginia ties?
Yeah, so we moved to the East Coast, Boston, when I was 4, and then Virginia Beach when I was like 10. And so like really formative years for me. Started surfing in Virginia Beach, like I mentioned, rooting for the Orioles, and just
The
good
Cal
good
Ripken
memories.
days.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. So I honestly had no idea because I know the name Switchfoot is a surfer term. So I figured that, since you were born in California and the band formed in San Diego in 96, I just figured you were out there and it was California surfing, but it was actually Virginia Beach surfing. I had no idea. That's fantastic.
East Coast, baby. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, East Coast surfing gives you a much greater appreciation for West Coast surfing, because if you don't get many waves on the East Coast, so it makes you appreciate it more when you have them.
Oh, absolutely. The Point Break is I'm a movie guy, is a little different over here.
That's right.
I should ask you, we just lost Brian Wilson, the genius. I assume you grew up as surfer musician guys. I assume the Beach Boys were just like touchstones for you all.
Oh man, it made me so sad. Such a loss. His music is so important to me, and it's great to just kind of pause and just appreciate what he gave us, because he gave us so much.
Absolutely. He's been on this show. Thank God I got to talk to him once at the National Press Club in DC. He and his wife Melinda, who also I guess passed like a year earlier. They were doing like a mental health summit, and we showed up there. And Paul Dano was there too, who played him in that biopic Love and Mercy. Remember?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie too.
One of the best approaches to a biopic I've ever seen. It was Paul Dano playing him young and John Cusack playing him older, coming out of the abyss, thanks to his wife. It was fantastic. It was awesome. Highly recommend.
Yes.
But anyway, so I guess how we get on? Oh, we got on that because surfer tunes, growing up, Virginia Beach music. So then, what brings you back west? Was your dad? Ran a church. Was he bouncing around at different different churches around the country, or what brought you back west?
Yeah, he was planting churches, and so we moved back west actually to take over a friend's church that was retiring, and asked my dad to step in and take over. And so, I was 13 and had already been surfing for a couple of years. So coming back to the West Coast now as a surfer was a pretty easy move for my brother and I. We were excited to be going somewhere that had waves every day. And but yeah, our time on the East Coast is was very special for us.
Yes. And so, will there be any familiar faces at Hollywood Casino? Any of the Virginia folk, Virginia Beach folk that are still in the area? Invite them up.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we come to that area, we usually catch up with one or two
Yeah.
old friends. It feels like that, that part of the East Coast, kind of similar to where we are now in California. People tend to stay around, so a lot of my friends are still in the Virginia area. So yeah, that'll be a good reunion.
Awesome. Yeah, Virginia, West Virginia, not too far, folks. Hop in the car and head out there to the casino. You won't regret it. It's going to be a good time for 4th of July weekend. All right, well, as we mentioned, yeah, so your dad was, hopping around between different churches. So, and then of course, Switchfoot starts naturally then as a Christian rock band in San Diego in 96. Those first three albums, Legend of Chin in 97, New Way to Be Human in 99, and Learning to Breathe in 2000. The lattermost, Learning to Breathe, was actually Grammy nominated on the Best Rock Gospel album side, lost to Petra. I remember having a Petra album growing up now that I think about it. But how did that sort of pave the way for your career? I guess it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes people want to pigeonhole you, but I think it's a positive, man.
Yeah, I think it's a label that we never put on our music. We never saw a reason to delineate um, belief systems as far as what music you're listening to or who you're writing for. We just write songs for the human experience, because I think the themes we write about, love, loss, doubt, faith, hope, these are human feelings. These aren't unique to just my faith. So I think that's why we've been able to kind of stay outside of the boxes that people try and put us in. We just write about the human experience.
Absolutely, and that's the perfect way to put it. And of course, I believe that "Learning to Breathe" album that was had the very first, like the original version of "Dare You to Move," right? Like you redid it years later. But did you redo it for what was it, the Nicholas Sparks movie, A Walk to Remember in 2002, or was that the original version that was on that?
It was the original version in that film. But yeah, that film really opened a lot of doors for us.
Yeah.
It had five of our songs on it. It was kind of like our Goodwill Hunting moment, where we kind of just did the soundtrack for that movie.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Well, the story wise, it was like our generation's love story, the dying lead character. But so you said a handful of songs, right? So it was Dare You to Move, Learning to Breathe, You, Only Hope, and then your brother does the Mandy Moore duet covering the Someday We'll Know, the New Radicals. That's the five, right?
yep, that's right.
So that opens the door to you all to the mainstream, you're saying.
Yeah, and we kind of, it was funny because looking back, it was obviously a big moment for us. But I think, as an artist, you have a lot of those kind of moments happen, and you never know which one is going to really do something for you. And so that happened. And then at the same time, we were going into the studio to record our next record. And we were kind of recording it thinking that it was going to be our last record. We had made three albums. That was one more album than most of our favorite bands had ever made,
Yeah.
and our drummer just had a kid. It was kind of, we're in our mid 20s, kind of feeling like, well, we should probably get some responsible careers going, that actually pay the bills. And so we went in to make one last record, and that record ended up being called The Beautiful Letdown.
Yeah.
And we just had no idea that it was going to kind of catch fire the way it did. And so here we are, now 13, just finished recording our 13th album, and really, really thankful to still be playing music that we love, and we still love each other, and the journey that we're on. So a lot to be thankful for.
I love that story. I had no idea that you thought Beautiful Letdown was going to be your fourth and final one. And little did you know it would go triple platinum, something like that, and be this iconic record. Let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into that album because, of course, all our listeners, when they see Switchfoots on this podcast, that album is some great memories for everybody. So take me into the decision to re-record that. What was it production-wise? Did you think the earlier one wasn't up to snuff, or was there just some creative reason where you thought it was worth a rehash? It.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a little of everything you just mentioned. I think to a lot of people, Beautiful Letdown kind of is like our first record. That's when they found out about us.
The breakthrough.
So
yeah.
It was kind of an opportunity to throw a song on an album that may have been overlooked the first time around, And meanwhile, we had played the song a lot on tour, taking it around the country with us. on the previous album, and so we felt like we had kind of grown into it a little bit more uh, than our first time around, and we did feel like we had a chance to kind of offer up a more completed version of the song. And I do think the second version is that's the one people know, but I also think it's the better version, and I'm thankful that it it got a second chance because yeah, I think a lot of people slept on that song the first time around.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is the definitive version that we all know, so it's probably weird for us to go back and even listen to the first one. This is the one we know. And of course, it was written by your brother John, right? So has he? I'm sure he has over the years shared the story with you on what inspired him to write it. Was he talking to himself, like daring himself to get up and move and take action? Is that right?
Yeah, I think a lot of our songs, if there's any finger pointing, it's at ourselves. That's kind of the viewpoint that we tend to write from is it's a very personal viewpoint, and it's kind of been a remarkable discovery that some of the most personal songs end up being the most universal because these human emotions that we write about, we've all felt that way, so Dare You to Move was a song John wrote for himself to kind of get him out of a slump, out of a funk, where he just felt kind of like trapped in without forward momentum, and he was picturing a boxer who had been knocked on his back in the ring, and I think that is something that we all relate to because we all get knocked down, um, and the interesting part happens and what happens next. Of
Right.
course you're going to get knocked down. That's life. What happens next is the call to action. What are you going to do about it? And so he wrote it for himself to get back up.
Perfectly said. Yes, that's the classic it's Rocky, It's down, down, stay down. And then he's like, no, and the music swells and he's got to get up and Adrian's closing her eyes cuz she can't believe he's climbing to his feet. He's ready for more. It's universal. It really is. All right, and one more on that album said Meant to Live, of course, was just as big as Dare You to Move. That was a massive song. Obviously you're on bass and your brother is what on lead guitar and singing it. So like I always thought that opening guitar riff must be one of the most fun to play, Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's such a fun song to play. Yeah. Um, it's a highlight every night for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always like there's like a lot of in the lyrics there's a lot of like pop culture references, of Mice and Men, the Steinbeck novel, and Bent and Broken is a C.S. Lewis. Was your brother doing a lot of heavy reading at the time? Or wait, you co-wrote it with him. So were you both doing a lot of heavy reading of poetry and literature and stuff and weaving that in there?
Yeah, we've always been readers, my brother and I, and passing books back and forth. And we always enjoyed, growing up. It seemed like a lot of the bands we were listening to, actually in the punk scene, were seemed like they were readers too. Whether it was Bad Religion or even like Atticus and the different brands that were being started within the punk scene based off of literary references. So I
Right.
think that was that really landed with us.
Absolutely. And it's cool. It's great for those that get the references, fellow readers, they smile, and those that don't get it, it still works because it's really profound stuff. So it works either way. Awesome. And then of course, so after that, you thought that album was going to be your last, but after it goes so massively successful, I guess you're just kind of like, well, we can't stop now. So the fifth album, Nothing Is Sound, comes out. That I think it's number 3 on the Billboard 200, the album's charts. And the one I remember off that was Stars. It's sort of is it the idea that there's so much, chaos going on down here in our own lives or in the world, but if you take the if you look up at the stars or even flip it from the heavens down, you see everything with a little more perspective. Is that sort of what you're going for?
Well, so the concept is like there's something about feeling small
Yeah.
that is actually very centering, you know? So the line at the end of the chorus is uh, when I look at the stars, I feel like myself. And when I look at the stars, I see someone else. Those are kind of the two pivotal lines in the song of
Yeah.
being reminded that you're a part of a bigger story, um, can actually make your life seem smaller and more significant at the same time. and so it's playing with that concept.
Yeah, we get caught up in the rat race and the everyday problems, and the problems seem so big in the day to day. But yeah, if you can take the step back and remind ourselves how small we actually are, how insignificant those problems really are, it really helps center us and ground us. So thanks for the reminder in that song. All right. Well, obviously, we don't have time to go through all the albums. Like you said, you've had at least what, a dozen or so, probably, right? But let's hit maybe one more. I know you do Oh Gravity after that, but let's skip to Hello Hurricane because that does win you your first Grammy. Best rock or rap gospel album was the category. What was the Grammy night experience like? Did you actually get to chime your 2 cents into the acceptance speech, or did the fellow bandmates cover that one for you?
I think I just threw in like a thank you as we're as we're walking off, you know. It was
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were all pretty just kind of like stunned,
Yeah.
um, fish out of water, you
Yeah.
know. Uh San Diego band, what are they doing up on stage at the Grammys? That's a very surreal experience, you know. So
Yeah.
definitely no category for that and uh in any of my wildest dreams. And yeah, I think the the things that are meaningful to us long term tend to be the little things, but that was a kind of a standout moment in just how surreal and unbelievable it all felt.
Absolutely. Did you get to meet any of your musical heroes while you were there? Fellow nominees or legends or life achievement honorees that year or anything like that?
Yeah, we've had the chance to meet quite a few of them. I think one of the most memorable ones for me was I got to meet Dave Grohl a few times. And he was such a big hero of mine growing up, kind of a 90s kid.
Well, he's a
And
Virginia guy too. So,
that's right. Yep. And then got to open for the Foos in I think it was probably like 2003 and that was just kind of like, as surreal as it gets.
I mean, absolute legend. So wait a minute. 2003 I'm trying to think what would have been like their big song at that time. I guess All My Life and Times Like These and all that was probably what was new back then, imagine.
Yeah, I think that was probably a few years old at that point, but
Okay.
I don't know if they had released their third record yet at that moment.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, either way, always cool to meet your heroes. Um, actually, it isn't always cool to meet your heroes.
That's true. That's true.
Some of them let you down, but you've been really cool to talk with. Well, I know we're sort of up against the clock, but I guess I wanted to remind folks if they want to find more about you all. Didn't you bring back your? It came out in 2012, the documentary Fading West, but isn't it available to stream now for free on YouTube?
That's right. Yes, it is. Yeah, the Fading West film was such a fun project. It was a chance for us to combine kind of our two big loves, surfing and rock and roll, in a film. So we've captured, documented a tour around the world, but this particular tour was booked with good waves in mind. So normally when we're on tour, we end up in places like West Virginia, which is great, but no waves. In this case, we went, to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, um, Bali, and good waves in all these places. So we brought our surfboards and we surfed and played rock shows for a year. And yeah, talk about a great year, but also a lot of highs and lows happened along the way, as does happen in life and certainly in touring. And it's all captured in kind of the push and pull of balancing family life with touring and those pressures. And yeah, I think it's a really special film.
I love that you combine the two, the waves and well, it's all airwaves too, right? Music and wave, it's all waves. So there you go.
You're sounding like a Californian right now.
I'm not.
It's all waves,
I'm from
man.
Maryland, man.
It's all waves.
It's just all waves, dude. No, I'm born and raised in Frederick, Maryland, not far from where you're going to be playing. And yeah, and you're right. There is no real water there. Well, actually, no, we'll take inner tubes down the Potomac. You could maybe do that.
Let's go.
Bring your
I'm in.
surfboards down the river ride. uh, awesome. Well, hey, before we go, do you want to plug your latest single, Last Man Standing? I wanted to call it out because it features blues legend Buddy Guy, who literally I just had on this podcast. I couldn't believe I was talking to him, and he's on your latest single. Plug it real fast.
Yeah, man. What an absolute honor to get to collaborate with Buddy Guy on Last Man Standing. Another thing I would have never had on my bingo card for things that we'd get to do as a band. So, what he contributed to the song was amazing, and I think he epitomizes the song. He is the last man standing. What a legend, and what would rock and roll be without Buddy Guy?
It's funny that you just said that he's the last man standing because Taj Mahal, he just came on a couple weeks ago too. He said that exact word describing Buddy Guy. I said I interviewed Buddy Guy, and
Wow.
he goes, "Yeah, he's the last man standing of that original, the Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, that original group out of Chicago, I guess." That's funny that you used that's your song title. Taj just said that about him. All right. Final seconds, winding this down, philanthropic stuff. Because I always loved using this as a platform, not only to plug your shows and your music, but to give back. And that ties into sort of the Christian rock, the Christian faith that you started with anyway. So it's all of a piece. But you've raised over $2 million for kids through your foundation. Tell me the idea behind launching that foundation.
Yeah, so we were actually on a flight back from Australia back in it was like 2003, and kind of missing home, and
Yeah.
think talking about all the things that we loved about where we're from in San Diego, and we kind of had the one of those dumb ideas, only dumb because we were young enough to think that it would work, which is where all the good ideas come from. That what if we had a surf contest and a concert on the beach to raise money for kids in our community,
Yeah.
which is like sounds simple, but knowing what I know now, it's believable that it's all worked out, and that the city allowed us to do it, and that it's been the success that it has been, and we've raised, like you mentioned, over $2 million for homeless kids and at-risk youth in our community, and the only reason why it worked is because the community really caught the vision and wrapped their arms around it. And it's one of our favorite days of the year. This is the 21st annual Bro-Am coming up this year. So you talk about things that you're proud of as a band. You mentioned like the Grammy, we're way more proud of Bro-Am than any Grammy or award. It really does feel like it's one of those tangible things you can look at and be like, wow, our community is better because of this.
Absolutely. And folks, check out more about that foundation at broam.org. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll cut you loose because I know you're literally driving in the car from place to place, probably going town to town and on your way eventually to make it over here to Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races, West Virginia on July 5th. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. It was fun catching up with you.
Yeah, great talking to you too. I also wanted to mention, I actually just released my first solo album
Really?
last week.
Oh, okay. Well, then we gotta hit that before we go. So what's it called?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, my dad used to call me Bongo Chico,
Bongo Chico.
and it's kind of a name I lost along the years. And this my brother talked me into doing a solo album. He's been trying to talk me into it for a while now, and I it
Wow.
finally sounded like a lot of fun, and it has been, and it just came out. It's called Bongo Chico, and it was kind of a chance for me to, I've written songs my whole life, but never for myself, never for me to sing. They've either been for Switchfoot or for other people's records. So it was a really fun chance to kind of write for myself and dive into all these memories from my childhood up until now.
Wow. That's cool that Big Bro. Wait, he's older, Big Bro?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
cool.
Big
That's cool
bro.
that Big Bro is looking out for you and urging you to do some solo stuff in parallel with Switchfoot. You're not done with Switchfoot, but it's parallel tracks here.
Yeah, no, I'm so thankful to have such a good big brother. And
Yeah.
just, people in my life that are encouraging me to try new things. The whole band was just kind of like cheering me on, and that felt really special.
That's awesome. Has John, your brother, has he released solo stuff recently as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's been doing solo stuff for years. It's really good.
okay,
It's under his name, John Foreman.
gotcha. But this
And
is your first time stepping out.
that's right. Yeah, I mean he's been trying to talk me into it for, at least 10 years, probably more. And timing is everything. It finally felt like, yeah, you know what? I was kind of curious as to what it would sound like, and then I just started writing.
Well, if you were sitting on the sidelines, I'm glad he dared you to move on that solo career. Awesome. Well, we invite everyone to check it out. It's called Bongo Chico, correct?
That's right.
Bongo Chico. Pick up that, and then also, the latest Switchfoot stuff, Last Man Standing with Buddy Guy. Listen to all of it to prep for the show at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia, Saturday, July 5th. Yeah, parting words, like we said at the top. Why is this such a cool venue folks should come out to? They can play some slots. They can celebrate 4th of July weekend. I don't know how you want to drum it up, but invite them on out.
Yeah, man. I mean, come hang out with us for July 4th weekend. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna play all of our favorite songs from throughout our entire career. And West Virginia is a great place to do it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much for calling in. Safe travels, and thanks again.
Right on. Thanks, man. Nice talking to you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.